All right, hello everyone. Welcome inside the first module of Changemaker Marketing Lab online. I am so excited that you're here today and can't wait to get started with this first session. Really appreciate that you took the time out of your afternoon to join the session live, and even more importantly, I am so thankful that you saw value in this course and decided to spend the next 8 weeks with me, or really 9 weeks, and with each other. 9 weeks because we have that bonus 9th module. And I truly think this is going to be a transformational experience for all of you. That's how we built it. That's what we hear from our one-on-one clients all the time. And just can't wait to see what comes up for you over these next 9 weeks or so. So I see that some of you are already finding the chat box and jumping on into there. But if you haven't already, chat box should be over on the right-hand side of your screen. We're in Zoom, as you know, this time versus GoToWebinar, which you might have used for some of our past webinars. So just take a minute to orient yourself. A little different here than in GoToWebinar where you can't see each other's chats. Here you will be able to see the chats. And feel free to chat with one another while I talk. You don't have to keep quiet and not use the chat box while I'm talking. But would just love to have you introduce yourself, tell us what city you're in, what organization you're with, what your role is, so that we can get to know each other a little bit better understand who's part of this course. All right, very good. Hi, Jennifer with Northern Illinois Food Bank. We have May with Aunt Clara. Welcome, welcome, everyone. I'll let you guys read along on the chat. I have to remember I don't have to read it to you now because you can see it. So thank you for introducing yourselves. Make sure that you keep using that chat box throughout our sessions. It's going to be a really useful spot for you guys to have conversations, get to know one another, and also ask me questions. So as you guys introduce yourselves, I will take a minute just to introduce myself, since I know some of you, not all of you. Met some of you on our webinars recently, but not all of you. So just a bit on my background and sort of the experience that I bring to this webinar. I am the president and founder of Prosper Strategies. We're a boutique marketing firm in Chicago that works exclusively with nonprofits and social enterprises. So everything we do is mission-driven. Our work is mission-driven. But my background is also in the nonprofit sector, like many of you. So I started my career in a nonprofit marketing role, and you heard about this on my webinars, but really was frustrated in the beginning of my career because my marketing department was really failing to make a mission impact. We were doing a lot of things and kind of spinning our wheels a lot, trying a bunch of different things, but we really weren't being as effective as I knew we had the potential to be. And I felt like we were kind of becoming order takers a little bit for other departments in our organization. So over my years there, I kind of tested and tweaked the way we planned and the way we did our work, and finally landed on this system that you might have learned about in the webinars if any of you attended them. It's called our 4D system, and it's a system for marketing planning and execution that really unlocks a ton of untapped potential, helps you stay focused on how marketing can have its maximum mission impact, how it can serve your organization's overall goals and strategic plan in the best way possible. And it also helps you overcome some of the pain points that are kind of unique to nonprofit marketing. So developed that in my first job, but now have taken that same system and I use it with my firm here with the nonprofit clients we work with to help them unlock their marketing potential. Worked with literally hundreds of nonprofits using the system, and now with this course, this is my opportunity, I'm so excited about it, to bring this system and this impact to more small organizations in a diverse range of mission areas, geographic areas, budgetary and financial situations, and really help the power of this system reach a much bigger level. So that's why you're here. That's why you're inside Changemaker Marketing Lab, is to get your hands on that and start using it. Okay, so just a couple housekeeping items before we dive into our content today. And we will have a little more housekeeping than typical today because this is our first session, and I want to make sure that I'm orienting all of you in what you can expect from the program so that you know what's coming up in the next 9 weeks. So first housekeeping item is just making sure that you can make the most of your viewing experience today and get a good experience with Zoom. To do that, would like you to close all the other programs that are running on your computer, anything you can close that's taking up your bandwidth or your internet, to make sure that you don't have buffering issues with Zoom. Should be in good shape as long as you don't have too much running on your computer. Then I'd like you to close your door and really get ready to focus. We're going to go over some pretty deep material today, and especially in future sessions, and I think you'll get more the more you focus here. That goes for those of you using the recording as well. And then for those of you on the live session, please use the chat box to communicate with me and with one another during the session. Feel free to chat while I'm talking too. All right, so that's the viewing experience housekeeping, but what about the other housekeeping? Let me get over to that screen and we'll talk about that for a minute. All right, so to ask questions or discuss content, we're going to try to make this course as collaborative as possible. Today will probably be the least discussion only because it's your first session and you don't have any completed work to discuss yet. But to ask questions or discuss content during the sessions, you have two options. In the chat, you can type hand raised with 3 stars around it. And I'll put you on the line live if you do that when we get to the Q&A session. That's if you have something deeper that you want to work through, something that requires some workshopping, or you'd like me to take a look at a document or something like that. Or alternatively, if you have something that's more direct response that you just need a quick answer to, in chat, just type question with 3 stars around it and follow it with your written question. That's a way for me to hear you and respond to your question without you having to come on the line live via video or audio, though you do have the opportunity, of course, to do that as well. Okay, so next up, accessing your course portal. I hope that most of you have found your way into the course portal already. For those of you who haven't, you have 2 options in terms of getting in the course portal. The first is to visit teachable.com and log in using the same username and password you used when you signed up for the course. And you'll see once you do, you'll see a little box that says Changemaker Marketing Lab Online. If this is the only teachable course you're in, it's the only one you'll see. So you can click there and then you'll be into the course. You'll see the curriculum. Otherwise, you can visit the direct link here. It will just prompt you to sign in when you see that link. It's the same thing. You'll have to sign in with your Teachable username. You might want to bookmark that. One thing for you to know is that we don't advertise this, but you certainly can share this content with anyone else at your organization who might benefit from it. So if you want to send them this link, they can log in with your Teachable information. In terms of what you can expect out of this course over the next 9 weeks, if you've been on the webinars or you've been following along on our website, you have undoubtedly gotten a sense of this already, but just want to fill you in a little bit on what's going to be happening over the course of the course. So as you know, there will be 8 modules, all taught live, 8 weeks in a row, 8 core modules, and this is the first of those. So they'll all be on Thursdays, all at 2 p.m. Central. And we'll have a 9th bonus module, which I'll talk about in a minute. Each module will have tools of the trade accessible to you within the Teachable course portal. So if you want to log in now, you can see the tools of the trade we'll be using during today's session. And you can get those in your hands now. We'll be updating the Teachable portal every week before the course. Definitely notice when I've taught courses like this in the past that if you give all the information up front, people tend to jump around in a way that's not conducive to learning. So it's intentional that we release the materials little by little. Also want you to know how our sessions are going to run. So they will be about 80% lessons where I'm teaching you something and you're learning the tactics or the tools or the strategies or approaches, and 20% questions and workshopping. So this session, we'll just do questions and workshopping at the end because it's our first module. Next session, we'll do some workshopping at the beginning. You'll have your marketing audit done and your goals and priorities set. So you'll come into the next session, some of you with those elements kind of worked out or you're starting to work them out already, and we'll look at some of them and workshop them more. And then we'll do Q&A at the end of the next session too. Like I mentioned, there are 2 bonus modules. So one will be between modules 3 and 4, about an extra 30 minutes will be tacked on to the end of module 3. And that's where we'll discuss mission and vision. Now, I know some of you already have a mission and vision that's really solid. In our work, this type of work with other clients, we sometimes find that this stirs up some things in regards to mission and vision that they might not already be thinking about. And so they want to really take a good hard look at mission and vision, revisit it a bit. So we'll do that within the bonus module. It's also a good way to start to develop a mission and vision if you're a newer organization and you don't have one yet. We won't go real deep, obviously, in 30 minutes, but we'll scratch the surface in a way that lets you take a look at your mission and make sure it aligns with the rest of the work you're doing here. And then finally, the final core session will be in week 8, but in week 9, we'll get together for a bonus Ask Me Anything module. So there you can show up, bring any questions, things you've been struggling with or working with that you might not be really clear on still, and we can workshop through it together for the whole entire session. It'll be fully workshop based. So you can even bring documents or parts of your plan that you're working on from Changemaker Marketing Lab, and I'll look at them and we can workshop as a group in that session. So in terms of what you're actually going to walk away from this course with, that's what you're seeing at the bottom here. You'll walk away with a compelling brand and messaging strategy, a really effective, really measurable marketing plan that you can actually take action on and stick to for the whole year and also build upon for future years. And then really solid foundation of tools and training you need to put your marketing plan into action. That's the kind of final deliverables, and if you do all the work and you keep pace with the course, that's what you'll have at the end of this time. What to expect to get there is I'm going to ask you to do some homework between modules. There will be some exercises that I'll ask you to go through, some things I'll ask you to think about to get as much as you can from the course. But remember that you can go at your own pace. So I think you will get more if you do the homework between the sessions and you come with your work prepared and you're ready to talk about it, discuss with the group. But you also will have access to these recordings for life. So you don't need to worry too much about keeping pace with every single session. I know things might get busy, and I don't want you to worry too much about, you didn't complete one assignment, you can't move on. We will do the course in a way where you can take things, leave things, come back to things, and do it in a way that's effective for you. If you put in that work during these 8 weeks or after the course with the recordings, you will walk away with those 3 elements. So really remember that this is more than just a professional development investment. This is an investment in those assets. You're building a marketing plan, you're building a brand strategy, you're getting the tools and training, all of that kind of in one place. So it's really a combination of marketing strategy and professional development. And how we're going to deliver on that is through our 4D system, which you've heard about if you've been on our webinars or on our website. This is a system that I developed way back in that first nonprofit marketing job, and now that we have taken and used with literally hundreds of nonprofits to get them amazing results from a marketing perspective. And 4Ds here: discover, design, drive, deliver. So we've decided to focus our course around those same 4Ds so that you can put the same system to work even without a long-term engagement with us, which I'm really excited about. So the modules are mapped to those 4Ds. Today we'll be in the discover phase, which is all about solidifying your goals and priorities and conducting a marketing audit. The next week we will go on to getting to know your target stakeholders. We'll also talk about some stakeholder research here. So I'll be giving you templates for things like stakeholder interviews and surveys. In Module 3, you will learn to write your positioning statement and key messages, crucially important to the foundation of your marketing plan. In Module 4, you will choose your tactics, everyone's favorite part that you all want to fast forward to, I'm sure. Just wait though, it'll be fun once we can get the foundation laid in Modules 1, 2, and 3 to start to brainstorm some tactics. We'll continue that in Module 5. This is where we'll really get creative about what you can do with different tactics and different campaigns. In Module 6, we will move on to drive, and this is where we'll talk about putting your marketing plan into action. This is where we'll talk about the marketing calendar or project management system, all the things that might hold you back from really achieving what you are capable of in the long term. Module 7, we'll talk about driving results and measuring the impact of marketing. This is where we'll talk about metrics, dashboards, and trackers. And in Module 8, we'll bring everything together into a final marketing plan and talk about how you can take what you're learning to optimize your results in the long term. Other big thing to know here in Module 8 is that this is really, this is content that is best if it expands beyond your organization or your team, I should say. So if it goes beyond you and into your leadership team, if you're not a leader who's on the call today, or to your board, and you really start to help them begin to understand the value of marketing, and they don't need to know the fine details of your marketing plan, but the value of what you're doing and why you're doing it. So we will talk about that a lot in Module 8 as well, how you kind of communicate these results to make sure that your value is understood, 1, and 2, that you're able to work most effectively. So in terms of today's agenda, on this very first module, which is our Discover module, we're going to be talking about how to audit your current marketing and communications to figure out what's working and what's not. Really important to get a sense of where you stand today so you can figure out where you're going next. We'll talk about how to determine your organization's overall goals, even if they haven't been established yet. We'll map marketing goals to your overall goals. Talk about figuring out what matters most to mission. We will discuss how to determine what your team has the expertise and capacity to handle. We'll discuss avoiding goal overload and how many goals you really should have, and then how to get buy-in across your organization in regards to your marketing goals. So as you know, I like to use tools of the trade in each lesson that I teach. You've probably seen this if you've been on any of my webinars, and you get these tools of the trade, all of them, within the course. They're going to be loaded into your course portal over the next 9 weeks. So the first tool of the trade is the marketing audit, and that's what we're going to go ahead and dive into now. So again, remember, you can go over to Teachable and you can grab this asset. When you click on it, you're going to see we like to use Google Drive. So this will pop up, this little pop-up that says make a copy, and that's intentional. We want you to click on that. That's going to allow you to copy the Google Doc into a new document that you can start working off of, and that'll be yours only. I won't see your changes. Don't start editing the main one. I don't think it'll let you anyway, but the main one is just to prompt you to make a copy of your own that you can start using. Oh, and seeing a question in the chat, someone's asking, should we be using these as we work or following your screen? It's really up to you. I am going to show everything that's within these assets on my screen. So I would say probably follow along with me and then come back to them afterward to your tools of the trade, but it's totally up to you. If you want to have them in front of you, that's fine too. Okay, so diving into the marketing audit. First, let's talk about why you should do a marketing audit. The whole purpose of this audit is for you to see what's working and do more of it, and see what's broken and do less of it. That's all it is. So you're going to want to look at data to uncover unexpected patterns. Patterns in content or stories that resonate with your community, patterns in times when your community is especially interested in what you have to say, patterns and channels that drive the right or the wrong types of people to your organization, and all of that will inform your goals today and your tactical selection down the road. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of my video again here so that you can see what's going on. And this is the first page of, there we go. This is the first page of the marketing audit. And this is where I'm going to ask you to just get really qualitative in assessing your marketing successes. I want you to take a look at what you did over the last year, your key activities, right? What events did you host? What new things did you try on social media? What PR pushes were you responsible for? What did you do to get your name out there, your message out there? And then ask yourself simply, was it successful or was it not? Yes or no? Depending on what you answer, you'll want to look at some metrics to back up that answer. Can you point to something from your analytics or elsewhere that really shows, yes, this was successful, no, it was not? And you want to fill that in on column 3 here. This is really just to give you a good baseline understanding of where things stand. And I want you to trust yourself that you really do have a better sense, just inherent sense of what's working and what's not from a marketing perspective than you think before we go ahead and dive into the data. So in your marketing audit, you can duplicate this page. You might want several versions of it, or several copies of it, I should say, if you have more than, I don't know, the 6 or 7 spots here to fill in. So feel free to do that. These are yours to play with and use as many pages as you want for this material. Okay, so once that kind of qualitative assessment is done and you have a good understanding of kind of where you stand in terms of what worked and what didn't, just broadly, it's time to start looking at some more metrics. So there's a whole bunch of areas that you've got in regards to your nonprofit's communications and marketing, and what you choose to look at really depends on what you're doing from a marketing perspective, right? There's so many things that you can look at, and if you're an events-heavy organization, you'll want to audit in a different way than an organization that does a lot of its work through its website, for instance. So I'm going to cover for you today some of the most common areas that we frequently audit with our clients, things that you're seeing here today. So web presence, form submissions, email engagement, social engagement, those are all part of it here. You might also explore event engagement, campaign performance, brand voice, tone, and visuals, channel integration, overall community size and makeup. Channel integration, what that means is how aligned are the things that we're saying on each of our channels. Does our email marketing align with our social, and does that align with the key talking points that our executive directors use in our events? Does all of that align with what we're putting in our direct mail and our annual appeals and our video, right? So something really important to think about. So like I said, we will really just get into these top 1, 2, 3, 4 here today, but I want you to think about these other areas you might audit. And again, in your tools of the trade, feel free to duplicate some of these pages that are coming up and manipulate them a little bit if there's other areas that you want to audit, like these ones under the You Might Explore section. So if you guys have any questions about these other areas under You Might Explore, feel free to bring those up when we get to the Q&A today. All right, so just taking a look here at the next page of the marketing audit tool, we're looking at web traffic as an element that I think almost all of your organizations should be assessing. If you don't mind, if you guys could just chat in, does everyone have Google Analytics running on your site? If not, happy to provide some more instruction about how to get going. I'm guessing 99% of you do. Oh, thank goodness. Okay. Then you'll all be able to do this part of the audit effectively. Believe it or not, we do work with organizations occasionally that say, Google Analytics, what? How do we do that? So assuming that you guys are beyond those basics definitely here, but taking a look at your Google Analytics, I want you to look at unique web traffic and total web traffic. And just get a sense of how your traffic hopefully grew over the last year. I should mention too that you should pick a time frame for this audit. So I'm going to be talking about over the last year. You want to do the last 6 months because you had a major change over the last 6 months, or look at your fiscal year, that's totally fine too. So side note on that. But in your Google Analytics, we want you to go into the audience tab, look at your unique web traffic, your total web traffic, and get a sense of how it shifted over the time period you're looking at. Did it grow? Did it shrink? And then add some assessment in your audit as to why you saw that kind of shift. Pretty basic here, but gives you a good starting point in terms of looking at your site. Then I want you to look at traffic sources, and this can be really informative. Not sure if you guys spend a lot of time in the source report in Google Analytics, but something that you're going to definitely want to pay attention to now and down the road as you start to put this new marketing plan in place that we're going to build together. So you look at your top channels here. This is within acquisition overview. And tip on Google Analytics, I'm sure most of you know this, but if you ever can't find a section, just type what I've listed here as the spot where this information lives. Type that into the search bar. It's in the top left corner of your Google Analytics menu, and you'll get to that part of analytics. So I want you to look at your site and try to understand where your traffic's coming from. Is search the primary driver, or is it your email marketing or your social, or just direct traffic, which would indicate that the majority of people coming to your site are people who know you and know your name. You have great community awareness and people are just finding you directly. Get a good sense of that. And try to get a sense as well of sources that may have grown or shrunk in significant ways in this time period that you're looking at. So, for instance, when I do this audit for Prosper, we do the same audit for our own organization. Our organic search had grown almost 60% in the previous year. And I could attribute that directly to 2 or 3 blog posts we wrote. We're just pulling in massive amounts of traffic to our website. And really a significant shift. So that's an indicator to us of, okay, we need these SEO optimized posts really are doing some serious work for us here. So see if you can observe any patterns there. And again, in marketing audit worksheet, there's an area here to add interpretation of what you're seeing in results on each of these sections, and give more than just numbers, give a sense of why this performed the way it did. Next up is your most popular web content. So I think this is really insightful as well. Within behavior, site content drill down. You will see a list of your most popular pages on your site to make sure that you're seeing them from most to least popular. You will want to click on the arrow and make sure it's pointing downward above the page views column so that you can see most to least. You're not getting a random smattering of posts. And really look at, okay, what were the most popular pages? Did anything surprise us here? You can list them out, obviously, in the box, but I think it's really insightful when you start to get deeper pages from your website, maybe not your home page or your About Us page, your page, ranking in the top 10, and why is that happening? Where is that traffic coming from? Why do people care about that specific content? Really can be interesting to dig into that. All right, Jennifer, I will come back to your question here about traffic to blog posts. That's a really good question. Not paid traffic, I'll tell you that. All right. So next up in the audit, you are going to want to look at your web forms. I would guess that the vast majority of you have at least some sort of web form on your site. It's probably a contact us form at minimum. I would guess the majority of you also have a newsletter form or some sort of subscribe form. And if you're doing more kind of inbound marketing work, you might also have content forms, all those things like your annual report or donor kits or things like that. You want to look at these forms and understand where the majority of new contacts are coming from. And where you get this information is very much dependent on how you're set up. So your site may be set up such that you can actually see your web form performance within your website portal. Like if you're using WordPress, for instance, you might be using a plugin for WordPress that is tracking your form submissions, so easy to log into your WordPress and compare your most popular forms. If all of your forms are kind of plugged in from your email service, like a Contact or MailChimp or a HubSpot, you'll want to go to that tool and rank your most popular web forms. Really depends on your tool. If anyone's not sure about this, where you'd find this information, we'll bring that up and we'll get to it in the options. That this is very much dependent on your organization and your tech setup. Great. And so speaking of your email tool, also as kind of a basic part of this audit, we'd like you to take a look at your most engaging emails. So to look at email engagement several different ways. Our favorite way to look at email engagement is click rate. So of the people who received and opened this email, what percentage actually clicked? That's our most important metric with most of our emails because we actually have something we want our email recipients to do or somewhere that we want them to go, right? So we want to look at clicks versus opens. A great open rate is nice. Yes, you want eyeballs, but if no one's taking action, probably is not that meaningful unless it's just sort of a feel-good message or an awareness building message. So choose an email metric that works for you. Like I said, I like to look at click rate, and on this sheet within your metrics worksheets, just go through and list out your most clicked emails, or if you want to use open rate or some other metric, you could even use, donation rate if your email campaigns are very much focused on development and donations. List that out here. And of course, we have to take a look at social. So this landscape is changing a lot. You might have other networks that are really important to your organization, but within your marketing audit worksheets, you'll see spots to fill in your total followers or page likes on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Feel free to update this page with any other networks that your organization is using heavily. Also take a look at page growth or follower growth over the previous year. Everyone should be able to find this with the native analytics within the social channels you use. I'm guessing quite a few of you probably also use a social management tool like a Hootsuite or Sprout Social or HubSpot. You can track these analytics in one of those tools as well. Tool that I really like, and this is over here in the right side, if you can see my mouse, right side prompt on the marketing audit worksheets, the tool called True Social Metrics. That is a tongue twister. And this is a tool that was developed by the former head of Google Analytics. He launched out on his own to create this tool. And what it really aims to get to is deeper metrics about social engagement that take into account kind of an algorithm with likes, shares, comments, and exposure from all of those activities, so that you can look more holistically at which ones of your social posts or which social channels, which themes or types of content are generating the most engagement. And True Social Metrics does have a trial, or at least as of a few days ago they did. Hopefully they don't get rid of it. Very high value tool, so I wouldn't be surprised if that happens pretty soon. But go over and check them out, plug your social networks in, and try to do some assessment holistically on your engagement on each of the networks you're using. Don't just look at, this post reached X people, that's great. Look at these holistic engagement to determine what's working. And of course, here you are going to want to take into account the difference between paid social media and organic social media. Facebook is increasingly, of course, becoming paid to play, which you all know. So you're going to see some really big gaps in the metrics between your organic social media posts and your paid posts. And you really can't compare them. I would do different audits on each of those different types of posts, look at them completely separately. So those are kind of the key areas that I would suggest that you get started with from an audit perspective. Again, you can go back to that first page within the marketing audit section and look at some of these other areas more deeply. Make sure that you are assessing, whether you're telling consistent narratives across your various communication channels, how your brand voice, tone, and visuals are being delivered across various channels. A lot more you can do here, but even if between the session and the next you just get into the basics of the marketing audit, which are very heavily digital, and you do some assessment there, I think that you'll go away with some really good findings that are informative of what we're going to do in the rest of this course, really, and how to set your goals and plan your marketing activities moving forward. There is one more part to the marketing audit, though, that I'd encourage you to spend some time on between the session and the next, or at your own pace whenever you have time for it, and that is just a simple SWOT analysis. So you all know SWOTs. I won't go over this in depth, but the important thing to say here is that you really need to be honest. If you're going to do a SWOT analysis about what's working and what's not, and aim to give a good critical assessment, not too critical, of course, because we're all making progress here in this course, that's an indication, but give a critical assessment to what's working and what's not here, what your opportunities are, what your threats are, so that you can really start to see some opportunities for improvement. I feel that a marketing SWOT is best conducted with the help of other departments or other key players in your organization who can kind of look at marketing from an outside perspective. Of course, you know it's working about things like your open rates or your events or your lists, things like that. Someone from the outside will evaluate totally different things, and I think really open your eyes to some really valuable information here that you might not be thinking about otherwise, and that you might not get just from looking at some of those earlier metrics in your audit worksheet. Okay, so I have a couple questions coming in here that, don't worry, I will get back to when we get into Q&A. But that concludes the use of the marketing audit tool. And again, we're scratching the surface here of what you can do with a marketing audit. You could go much, much deeper. I like to keep this pretty simple, to be honest. With all the data at our disposal, it's really easy to fall into a rabbit hole here and start to assess every little thing and compare these 3 months to those 3 months and this channel to that channel. I think you can kind of paralyze yourself here. Analysis paralysis is a real thing. So I would suggest that you look at these metrics, you evaluate the areas that really feel important to you. You get into your Google Analytics, you get into your social analytics and your email tool, and you feel around for patterns, but don't kill yourself to come up with every key point about what happened in the last year. Your time will be better spent looking forward than looking back. So that's the audit. And then let's move on to our second section today, which is marketing goals and priorities. Again, some of this is going to sound a bit familiar to those of you who have been on my webinar. We are going to go into it a lot deeper today. But it's something that is so key to this process that I really did hammer at home in the webinars that some of you attended. All right, so first off, our approach to goal setting. And this is really a critical part of this entire course and the entire 4D approach, why it works. So we start with organization goals, and we really tie every marketing goal inextricably to the organization's strategic plan and vision. Your marketing activities need to serve the organization's bigger overall goals and purpose, or marketing is just kind of a creative function, right? For marketing to really be a mission driver and a business function, it needs to serve your organization's goals and your strategic plan. So that's where we start. We start by looking at those organizational goals. Then we brainstorm ideas on how marketing can serve each and every one of those goals. There may be some that marketing cannot contribute to, and we'll talk about that. But vast majority of organization goals, marketing can play a role in. Then we take that brainstorm and we start to minimize it. We start to eliminate things that don't work and don't make sense and combine what remains into goal statements. And finally, we go through and we prioritize. So if you have been on the webinars, you know that I am huge on the fact that you cannot do everything in a single year, even if your team is relatively large. So we're going to talk about how to figure out what matters most and prioritize those elements. And again, the key part is that marketing goals are inextricably tied to your organization's strategic plan, and when they're not, they are not effective. So that's how we're going to aim to set the goals that put you in a position to really be effective for the rest of this course and in the rest of your marketing planning activity, and then as you get into execution. So again, in your tools of the trade section within Teachable, you will find a Google Doc, priority planner, which you can duplicate and work off of. And this is what it looks like when you get inside the tool. So these worksheets are kind of interesting. You'll see in the directions. We do some jumping around from section to section here because we're first going through and brainstorming, and we're going back and eliminating and narrowing down. So your first step here is going to be to find your organization's strategic plan or other guiding document. And I mentioned this in our prep work, so if you looked at that, I think I mentioned it in an email to you also. I wanted you to come to class today armed with your strategic plan. If you don't have it, don't worry. Between this session next, make sure you find it. And within it, you will almost definitely find a set of organization-wide goals that your leadership team and your board or your board have agreed upon, right? And that is going to be what guides how we make marketing decisions here. So I want you to make sure you have that. I want you to go through the pages within the priority planner. And in this left box over here, let me get my mouse over there, we're going to list up each organization goal. So you'll flip pages, make sure that you are filling up each of your organization goals. Hopefully you don't have, I've seen some organizations have 20 to 30 organization-wide goals. That's kind of unwieldy and hard to manage here, but feel free to duplicate these pages if you need. I think there's 6 within the priority planner asset. That's the first step, that you're going to just go in and list your organization goals, make sure you're clear on what they are. And then you're going to spend some time brainstorming ideas for ways that marketing can advance that specific goal. So you'll start with organization goal 1, and you'll just come up with as many ideas as you possibly can about what marketing could do to serve that goal. They can be small things, big things, things someone told you you should try, things you've been curious to experiment with, you name it. Don't limit yourself, as you've heard me say before, you've been in the webinars. This is not the time to limit yourself. It's the time to really let your ideas run wild. So you'll go through and you'll do that in this upper right box on each sheet. looking at the organization goal, brainstorming ways marketing can advance it. So you'll see here the second sheet, that is an example of that. And then let me just go back here. You are going to start going through and crossing off. So you'll still be in this box. Let's flip between these. You'll still be in this box, but you'll be looking at what is actually realistic after you've gone through and you've brainstormed, I don't know, maybe let's say 10 to 20 possible things marketing could do to serve each organization goal. Some of those ideas will be great in the brainstorm phase, but once it's time to get down to reality, they don't make a lot of sense. So I want you to go through and cross off anything that your current team does not have the capacity or skill set for, anything that definitely will cost way, way more than your budget allows. If you're not sure, if it's borderline, you can leave it. And then most importantly, anything that would be nice to do, but it is not essential to achieve your overall organizational goals right at this time. Basically, if there's items on the list that you say, okay, this is great, but there's so many things that I want to tackle first, I really don't think this should come to the top of our list. Cross that item out, because you're probably right in that assessment. That will likely shrink your brainstorm list down considerably. And again, we're in this section here, ideas for ways marketing can advance this goal, right? So your list will probably get down from, usually when we do this work, we see organizations have maybe 15 to 20. Shrink your list down to maybe 6 or 8. And at that point, I want you to start looking at what remains and start categorizing or combining what's left on your brainstorm list into goal statements. So I'll show you an example here in a minute, but we really do follow the SMART goal principle. I know this is sort of a well-known and somewhat cliche at this point acronym for goal setting, but your goals, when you get to the point of combining your ideas and actually making them into goals, you do want them to follow that SMART principle. So they're specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time-bound. All right, so familiar example for those of you who have been on the webinar. Again, this is the most repetitive module of all, but want to make sure that people who weren't on the webinar get the benefit of learning this. We're going to be looking at the Marin County Humane Society, and these are their goals and their strategic plan. So they want to lead the way in animal welfare and advocacy, embrace their collaborative culture, create campuses of the future, expand financial resources, play a vital role in the community. These are all really important goals and things that marketing can probably serve at least, let's say, 4 of the 5 of these, if not all 5, right? So let's take a look at what they did as they worked through their priority planner. So you can see up on the screen here what they came to. So on the top right, this is what they brainstormed initially. This is all the ways that marketing could advance this goal of leading the way in animal welfare and advocacy. So they had things like publishing studies and educational content to their website and capturing contacts from them, starting a letter writing campaign to local officials, starting a podcast, free community events, the list goes on. This isn't even everything that they had. I trimmed it down for size. So that was what they started. And you can see what they crossed out here due to the fact that it was either not the biggest priority at the time, there were so many other things that felt like they mattered more, or they didn't have the right team or resources. And then you can see what they were left with was this first bullet and this third to last bullet here. And so they then combined, let's go back there. They then combined what remained into a couple of goal statements. So ideas or things that marketing could do, which tend to be a bit more tactical, how they transformed into marketing goals was by going a bit broader, right? Thinking about what are we really talking about here when we say publishing studies, additional content, or hosting events. What are we talking about when we say, let's do a podcast? How can we make that into a bigger goal? And they tied to something measurable. Now, measurables are not the most important part of this process. We will get into more exacting measurables around each of your marketing goals in a later module as we get into the actual metrics and measurement. But for most of your goals, you're going to want to have some sort of number associated, which will allow you to see if you're successful. We'll then fine-tune those numbers later. So what they ended up with as a result of this is they crossed things out and categorized was under this first organization goal, 2 marketing goals, becoming a leading producer of content on local animal welfare and advocacy issues, which would allow them to reach 5% of their county's residents with various content formats in 2018 if they were successful. And then they wanted to host 1 animal advocacy event per quarter and attract a sizable group of the right people to each. So this you can see they're a little more vague on the metrics on the second one, And that's okay. They will get into, you'll see their example will went through all of our modules. They'll get into more specifics in a later module. When I share their examples, you'll see how they tied more direct metrics to this one. All right. Thanks, guys, for using the chat. I appreciate that, and I will come back to your questions. Don't worry. So here's another example, and here's one where there were less crossouts, right? So you can see that it's not a direct correlation, one marketing activity or idea to one goal. You can really categorize things in more broad ways. So this one is around, the organization goal was around expanding financial resources. And so they look at things like developing a comprehensive campaign to attract qualified leads for their new social enterprise obedience school, doing more with their social media and email to shift the balance from offline donors to online donors, developing advertising to drive growth of dog licensing revenue, and then some things that got crossed out, improving opportunities to give small gifts at events, launching large-scale capital campaigns supported by local media. Those things got crossed out for a variety of reasons, either not the appropriate resources or it just doesn't matter as much right now. And then they ended up here with 2 marketing goals off of this organization-wide goal. Advertise revenue-generating services, so they have this animal shelter through revenue-generating our obedience school and their dog licensing. They wanted to advertise those consistently throughout the year and drive at least a 5% increase in revenue across those 2 programs. Again, they're getting really specific here. And then the rest of what was left on their list, they actually identified that the big gap was that they didn't have someone who had the skills and the bandwidth, really importantly the bandwidth, to execute some of these other things, because they're all related to online communications, and that's not where this organization was strong. So rather than having their goal be about this idea or this tactic, they decided to make their marketing goal hire 1 new part-time marketing staff dedicated to donor communications with a focus on digital. That's sort of the factor that was required to make the rest of this work, so that's where they landed there from a goal perspective. That should give you an idea of where you can go with this. Take some time on it, allow yourself to get creative in the ideas for ways marketing can advance the goal section, really brainstorm, and try to get a brainstorm partner if you're a marketing team of 1. I think that really can be helpful. And then finally, I am positive that even once you do this and you eliminate things and you combine things and you get your goal statements down to a more manageable place, that you are still going to have more total marketing goals than you can realistically achieve within this time period, which is usually a year. Just you do your plan on a year. So that's where the next sheet in the priority planner comes in. Again, this looks familiar for those of you who have been on webinars. I'm going to take this sheet and really use it to figure out what needs to come into your marketing plan for the year and what needs to be left out and honestly pushed out, because you're going to want to let it creep in. So this is where you draw that line in the sand and you create those limits. So on this sheet, you're going to list out each of those remaining goals from the previous pages that flow under your organization goals. You list those out in column 1. And then you'll just do a really simple ranking exercise here. It's amazing how helpful and eye-opening this can be for people, because it's just 3 items that you're ranking. You're ranking for each remaining marketing goal, the potential impact on your organization's mission and overall goals, the likelihood that it be achieved in the upcoming year with your existing resources you already have at your disposal, your existing team and money, basically, and then measurability. And then you'll total that up. For each row, you'll come up with a total for columns 2, 3, and 4, and list that out in box 5. And when you do that, when you go through this process for all the goals that you just had on your list, you will clearly see some rise at the top with higher scores than others. And want you to take a good critical look at this list. You don't have to go exactly with what the ranking tells you, but I think it will take you pretty close to where you need to be. And you want to take a look at, where do we need to draw the line here? So I said this in our webinar also, but our general rule of thumb is to take the number of people on your marketing team and multiply it by 2. So if there's 1 person on your marketing team, 2 priorities that might make you nervous. Think about other people who might be able to contribute to marketing as well, whether that's interns, volunteers, people in other departments. Get the right number that feels good for you based on the manpower that you have in place. But I would say approximately 2 goals and priorities per person is a good number to shoot for. Now, that doesn't mean that every person is going to be owning that exact goal or priority. You might share them. It's just a good formula that we use to get to the right number and a manageable number, and really steer our clients and our students like you guys away from putting too much on their plate. You really cannot be fully effective if you're trying to balance more than a team your size should handle, right? So want to get this, this total list here down to a manageable number of priorities. between 1 and 3, let's say, for the number of people on your team. So spend some time on this, do the ranking, look at it critically. And when you are done, you'll just go through the final pages in your priority planner and list out your final marketing goals. Then as a reminder, you'll also just want to put the organizational goals that they correspond with down below here so that you can remember that and keep tying yourself back to what's the organizational purpose of this goal? What are we doing that's tied to our strategic plan and our mission? And why does this marketing goal map to the big picture? These final pages of the priority planner, I think, can be really great level setting tools if you're meeting with others at your organization about what marketing is doing or why it's doing what it's doing. So really encourage you to get very clean here in how you're stating your marketing goals and how you're tying them back to organization priorities so that you can share this with others. All right, so that concludes the instruction on using the priority planner and on setting marketing goals and priorities, which is going to be really foundational to the work that we do next week. This is the opening section of our marketing plan. Also, when we get to the later parts of the modules and we start talking about your marketing plan and how you present it, it will always open with your goals and priorities. So you want to set the right tone with what you're coming up with here. So your homework between this session and the next will be to complete your marketing audit or get it as far as you can. You can always come back and go deeper on any of this material if you'd like, and then complete as much as you can of your goal and priority worksheets. I would love to, at the top of the next session, discuss what some of you came up with and have you share with each other sample marketing goals and priorities, things that are working for you or that you might want to workshop or give feedback on. And I think that'll be a great way for you to learn from one another. So work on that between this session and next. Again, you can always take it slower if you want. I think you will get even more from this material if you do it between the sessions because we can talk about it at the beginning of each one. But you certainly don't have to feel like you have to check all these boxes between every session if things get busy. So that's your homework. I will recap that in our post-session email as well. And then just so you know what's coming, next session we are going to start to do some real research. So we're going to talk about how to get to know your target stakeholders, identify the ones that are most likely to have an impact on your mission and your goals, and then do some research through focus group surveys. I'll be giving you a survey template and other kind of research hacks to make it easier for you to get deep insights without a ton of time or money. So that will come up in the next session, and that will then tie back to your goals because we'll be focusing on a set of stakeholders that are most likely to help you advance the goals that you set as a result of today's module. So again, we'll discuss the progress you made on this week's homework in the beginning of the next session, then we'll go into the content, and then we'll do Q&A at the end. But for today, would just like to take questions on things that came up for you in today's session. So seeing a lot coming in right now. If anyone wants to actually go on audio with me, feel free to type hand raise. Otherwise, I will just read off for you what I'm doing in the questions, and then we'll go through them one by one. All right. So looks like we can start here with Jennifer's question. This is from back at 2:30. So Jennifer says, this is when I was talking about the fact that when we did Prosper's marketing audit, we identified that a few blog posts were really effective for us, that we were getting a lot from 2 or 3 key blog posts that drove almost a 60% increase in our organic search traffic. And Jennifer says, our blog posts get no traffic, would love to hear more about how you got the traffic. Was it paid? No, it was not. So Prosper has committed to a consistent blogging strategy, and we really doubled down on that strategy last year. We did a ton of research on the topics that we felt our market was most interested in, and sort of how those topics were being presented in other content that was available on the internet. We came up with a few key areas that we wanted to focus on. We blogged every single week. Now, we worked on SEO optimizing each and every blog post we published, but some more than others because of the topic or because they had a lot of search potential. We can go into this more in the tactical module as well. I can do a little bit of training with you guys on how to SEO optimize your blog posts, but we had a couple posts that we felt really confident we can make good traction on these on search that did not perform, and then a couple that we felt that same way that were those 3 that actually really took off. And actually one of them is related to the content of this course. It's a blog post about nonprofit marketing plans dissected that then includes a resource, a download of our old marketing plan template, which we're redoing. But that post, we tried to optimize it for search, and then we got a little bit lucky too. It absolutely took off, and it's top search result if you search for nonprofit marketing plan template or nonprofit marketing plan example. So that's where the majority of our traffic is coming from. It's coming from some SEO research, from understanding what our audience cares about and what exists already on the internet in terms of content on that topic, and then filling that gap with our own content. And I'll take note, Jennifer, to in the tactical section, provide a little bit of training on how we do SEO research for our blog posts and for our clients' blog posts, more importantly, so that you can kind of see behind the scenes of that. All right, yeah, it sounds like a lot of you are excited to hear about SEO in future modules. Yeah, we'll definitely do that. We'll talk content SEO for sure. Important element of all this. All right, so let's move on to Samantha's question. Samantha says, I work for the Restore, a program of a larger nonprofit. Our program has 5 different service areas. Our larger organization has a set of strategic goals. My program has a set of strategic goals, and each of our service areas have strategic goals. It's overwhelming. Yes, it sounds overwhelming. I've attempted to narrow down process after the webinar a few weeks ago, and I got so confused. Where would you suggest I start? Yeah, that's tough, Samantha. So I would suggest that you start at the highest level. So rather than starting at your program, start at the organization level, right? And really think about how the organization's goals then flow into your program's goals. And I guess my question for you would be, is your function to be a marketing asset to the entire organization or just to your program, right? Because depending on how your role is structured and what the function of your position is, you'll want to approach this a little bit differently. If you are supposed to be narrowly focused on your program, then yes, you'll want to understand how your program's goals are tied to the broader organization goals. But if you're really supposed to serve both, yeah, that is confusing. It's tough. I can help you navigate it. I think if you might be able to share any of those plans with me, I think I can give you a bit more insight. But think about first, what is the big picture here? How does this tie together? And then what's my role supposed to be? And do the priority planner off of whatever is most closely tied to your role with an eye on that bigger picture. I hope that makes sense. All right, and Dan's asking, are there more sample marketing goals to use as inspiration? Yeah, Dan, I'd be happy to send you some more examples after today's session. We have more. I just pulled a couple for brevity and clarity's sake. And if there's specific things you're looking for, I'll try to pull some that are less digital in nature, because we have some that are kind of more related to PR and holistic marketing goals that came out as a result of some of that work. All right, Ashley. So question here, we have strategic priority goals like improve health equity and prevent new cases of HIV. Yeah, okay. I find it difficult to make these actionable besides support departments with their communication needs. Okay, yeah, so that's something that I didn't mention in today's session, is that there are going to be some organizational goals that marketing just simply cannot serve. I do want you to think about any awareness elements or education elements that might come into play with goals like that. I think that's really important, but there's certain things that it just does not make sense for marketing to contribute to. So as an example, I'll point to my own example, my own business. We have a goal to improve our utilization because my firm is primarily, aside from this course, we're a professional services firm, right? So we make money based on the hours that we as an organization work. And so we want our team's utilization to be up so that we're improving our metrics, right? That is not something marketing really can serve. The best thing we can do as the marketing department, I do run marketing for the firm, is to provide our clients with some sort of well-done, marketing, shiny marketing materials that explain how we structure our engagements and structure our time. But other than that, marketing really can't serve that goal. So a little different than what you're talking about, but I do think that there are goals that you just have to simply say, marketing does not address this. Or if it does, it's purely from an education and awareness perspective. I do want you to be careful, Ashley, about making one of your goals supporting departments with their communication needs, because what that has a tendency to do is it makes you an order taker, and it makes your marketing team or your marketing function, if you're a team of one, sort of serve as an internal agency for your department. And that's a part of what you need to do, certainly. But I want this plan to be a way for you to take control of your work and make sure that you're not just leaving it open-ended to whatever the departments need on any given day. So think about that. I hope that you do have some goals in your organization's strategic plan that marketing can directly address, and I'm willing to bet you do. Preventing new cases of HIV as an example, what can you do in terms of awareness and education around that goal, really think that through. All right, let's see here. I'm just going to scroll down to the bottom. All right, so Ashley, looks like I answered your question in some ways there. Yeah, you can be an internal creative agency. You guys, that is so common. I can't believe that I let today's session pass without talking about this pain point, but huge, huge pain point for a lot of nonprofit marketers is that you are order takers in a creative department for your organization. We want to get away from that as much as possible with this plan. So know that in future modules, one of the things I'll be talking about is how you communicate this internally and get your departments to understand that marketing does more than just, address their daily needs and create brochures and create materials. Yes, you're there to help them, but this plan is a tool also for you to get more strategic in your work. All right. And Samantha, back to your question, you're saying just your program, you're the largest program. Yeah, email me for more help and info, definitely, or comment in the Facebook group and we can continue the conversation over there. I think it would be helpful for me to see what you're looking at from a strategic planning perspective, and I should be able to help you with that in mind. But I would say focus on, look at the overall goals and ground yourself in them, then focus on your program's goals and use that for the priority planner. All right. So Jennifer, going back to you here, another question from Jennifer. Talked a lot about digital. You oversee all marketing, including PR, advertising, digital, and community awareness. For the marketing audit, should you look at some of that too? Absolutely, yeah. I covered today items that I know most nonprofits have access to or are involved in, and that I knew would be relevant for the vast majority of you, because I knew most of you would at least have Google Analytics, social analytics. Yeah, you should definitely look at your PR, definitely look at your community awareness metrics. If you track metrics related to events or things like that, definitely look at that. And that's where you can take the pages of the marketing audit and duplicate them and look at the areas that are most relevant to you. All right. Moving on, hopefully that was helpful. And sorry guys, I'm jumping back and forth. Sorry, Leah Ruth, I didn't get to your call or your question. I will try to answer it in the Facebook group for you if you have to jump. All right. And Leah Ruth, I'm going to answer her question here actually, because it's one that's relevant, I think, to all of us. She said she's wondering if I can provide some insight as to how this group will collaborate. Will we be actively working together in a group as in providing feedback to one another? Yeah, so that's my vision, is that primarily the Facebook group will be used as a spot for you guys to collaborate with one another and provide feedback. There's also going to be a couple spots within different modules where we actually put the things that you've been working up and we look at your work so far and we allow you to provide ideas and critiques and comments for one another. Like I said, we're about 80% instruction here and 20% Q&A. So I would love, love, love if next time on the call, if some of you can come with some of your work done, right? And something that you're struggling with so we can put it up on the screen here and you guys can collaborate with one another. We can look at your work. I can provide you feedback, but then others can raise their hand and come on to audio also and give thoughts and feedback and critiques. So the Facebook group for sure, and then the collaboration in that manner is really what you guys are open to and interested in. We'll take your direction. All right, great. Hearing that you guys want to hear more about SEO and future modules, yes, we will do that, definitely. All right. So it looks like I got to the bottom of your questions list here, guys. Next time, remember, you can raise your hand and come on audio. And next time, we will have a little bit more wiggle room for questions, too, because today we had to do some housekeeping. So now we'll have more time for that. You can come on audio and we can talk through issues that you're having. We can workshop certain things at the top of the call. So really looking forward to that. Just getting the feel for Zoom here. I have used GoToWebinar up until today, so we'll make more use of some of those features next time. But really appreciate you all being on today. I hope you got some good value from today's session. And remember, the recording will be published just shortly following today's session, and then you can find everything else you need within Teachable. And we'll be live again next Thursday. Get as much as you can done on your homework. Excited to discuss it and chat with each other and with me in the Facebook group until then. So I will see you all then. Have a great rest of your Thursday, and thanks for being here. Bye.